Hey there, welcome to another week of the Watson Weekend. I think we're up to week 15 now. I'm your host, Rick Watson, host of the Watson Weekend, along with
Jessica Liseski. Cheers, Rick. With our new
Cheers.
Watson weekend gear.
Love the gear, love the yeah, this has been a busy week. It's like the pre shop talk week, and so it seems like everyone's trying to get some things in because they know next week is going to be traveling.
Traveling, also gearing up for meetings, trying to make connections, lots of LinkedIn in mails, on repeat. So yes, everybody's been in a flurry.
Yeah, true fact. LinkedIn email is my favorite thing. Just keep sending it. I promise you, it's not going into a spam folder. Um, ugh, miserable.
Just get a little AI bot to take care of it.
It's Friday, as you know, March 8th, 2024. Interesting facts about today. I have some for you, Jess.
All right, bring it on.
1894, the state of New York. I mean, we're in a New York state of mind here.
Represent.
Enacts the first dog licensing law. Before that, dogs were free roaming.
They're not free today.
Free range canines. Now they're
Yeah.
licensed. These are real dogs. They got papers.
I do remember I didn't have papers for my dog. I got in trouble. I didn't know it was a thing.
Exactly. I think Big Lebowski, that was a big thing there. 1927, Pan American Airlines incorporates. Those were the coolest uniforms. That's what I remember from Pan Am
Yes.
Airlines.
Yes. There's actually a whole fashion show, I think, designed around the Pan American Airlines
Exactly.
uniforms.
Isn't there like a Netflix series around Pan Am now
Pan
or
Am.
something?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Awesome. I need to check
Also
it
in
out.
Catch Me If You Can. Pan Am. Big deal.
Catch Me If You Can. I love that one. It taught me how to forge checks. I still use that trick today.
Oh, people still have checks?
That's why no one can catch the forgery.
They don't know what it is.
Exactly. 1987, dun, 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 the A-Team last
Oh,
aired on NBC after 4 years. So
the
that's
best.
pretty exciting.
Who
Best
doesn't love
show.
Mr. T?
I love it when a plan comes together. Mr. T, yeah. B.A. Baracus for the fans in the audience.
Yeah, that was pretty magical. Little
So
Saturday TV.
yeah, look, I mean, there's been a lot of e-commerce discussion this week, kind of going into what we call our headline hangover. We're going to talk about a few different topics. First up, does Amazon grocery, are they showing signs of life?
Yeah.
Here's what the news is. They are introducing 5 stores in New York City called Whole Foods Market Daily Shops.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mouthful. But basically, it's like convenience store size Whole Foods, half foods, you might call them. They're designed to only take half your paycheck. Jess, your take.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is what's old is new again, right? Because this is something that Whole Foods tried in 2019 and tested. I think this is Amazon's can't quit grocery strategy, right? They just can't quit grocery.
Right.
They're loving it, right?
100%. Yeah, Amazon's grocery strategy has been challenged, so we'll see if the signs of life become reality. Look, I'm glad they're not just closing stores anymore, and that's been an issue. Next up on the headline hangover is we're going to go to theft and retail shrink. This story is kind of interesting. The NRF, the National Retail Federation, which is part kind of industry luminary, part lobbying firm, they have walked back some of their previous retail theft information where you're talking about essentially organized retail crime. And that's what they're saying is like, this was a big problem. A lot of retail CEOs like famously said, this is a big problem. And now they've like walked back all those statistics. And so it's a big challenge for them that is a problem for the industry. And I think it kind of gives you point to the point, like NRF is not a retail sort of fact and information source, I guess. Part of it is that they're a lobbying firm, and I think as a lobbying firm, they're lobbying for the retail industry. So that's something we'll talk about. Next up, we'll talk about actually Target. Target's earnings are down and their profits are up. So from an earnings point of view, they're actually off about 4.4% year over year from a store's comp point of view. Meanwhile, their profits are up 55% since the Q4 of 2022. And so that's really was the low point of Target. In response to this, Target kind of put on like a big dog and pony show for their earnings. And that's really what they kind of are hanging their hat on. Like, it seems like once a year, they go what I call full Wayfair. If you've ever listened to Wayfair's earnings call, it's like part finance, like part dog and pony show. They're trying to show off all the different parts of Wayfair. And Target kind of went there this time. They introduced a lot of new merchandise. And so to me, part of it is, look, you have to hand it to Target. They know who they are. They're introducing new lines of product. They introduced a new line of tours called Gigglescape. They introduced a new line of discount items called Dealworthy. And they're just going to merchandise their way out of the problem. That seems like the big thing that they're going on. Next is Nordstrom's. Nordstrom is launching a new online marketplace. And it looks like from my side, I've seen that they're partnering with Miracle on this, which is obviously working with a lot of big retailers out there, including Macy's. And not just any old marketplace. They call it a digital marketplace. I'm like, first of all, is there any other kind of marketplace? That's kind of question one. And then question two is, Nordstrom's is kind of famously a curated company. How's that going to work from a Nordstrom point of view? Are they going to keep the curation? Are they not? Is there going to be an issue? And so they actually, if you kind of go back in Nordstrom's history, they made several acquisitions in the past, including Hotlook. And they used to have marketplace technology. And so I think as part of that, they're sort of reintroducing their marketplace. So it'll be interesting to see where that is in the in the conversation. That's up from the marketplace side. As we go into our main stories, the first story that we're going to have here is actually Temu. And in the last week, there was a big report put out by a research firm called Earnest Analytics, and they provide software as well. And one of the a bolt from the blue, Temu has produced we have new information out there through this Earnest Analytics report, and I wanted to outline a few things that we're talking about here. First is tremendous growth. Temu has grown their sales over 840% in the last 12 months.
Yeah, I saw the Temu ads. It really inspired me to shop like a billionaire, but it doesn't seem like it inspired the rest of America to shop like billionaires. So it flopped a bit. Investment did not pay off.
Yeah. Another thing, one of the things I liked about this report is it's actually exploding a few facts here that I really couldn't believe. One is the fastest growing Temu segment is above $190,000 income. The slowest growing Temu segment is less than $50,000 in income, which I didn't know that before. So it's really good data to talk about from a segmentation point of view. Did you expect that, or does that resonate with you at all, Jess?
I didn't expect it. I think we just assumed that they were really taking share from the dollar stores, from all of these lower price retailers, and that it was resonating mostly with these lower income segments. And that's actually the opposite of what we found. And from a share perspective, Rick, did it feel like that they were taking more share from a Walmart, Target, Etsy? What else was the breakdown in terms of where are they stealing share?
There is a couple of things to talk about in that front. The two big losers are in this order: Wish and AliExpress, which you might expect. Like, Temu is essentially like the third generation of Wish. It seems like, or you might hope, that they're a little bit smarter than Wish was, and the quality is slightly higher. The customer lifetime value for Temu keeps going up after 12 months, which to me means that the quality is good enough to get people coming back, or maybe they just keep getting bombarded with ads, and
The
all the digital ad
gamification.
spending.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Do you mind if I break down some of these similarities though between Wish and Temu? Because
I would love to hear about it.
I think
Yes.
that's pretty interesting, right? As much as I've heard about Temu, the immediate thing that came to mind is this is just another Wish. Let's just kind of recap the trajectory of Wish. It started in 2010. By 2018, it was the most downloaded shopping app. There were 2 billion in sales in 2021, 101 million monthly active users in 2021, 1 million registered merchants,
Wow.
of which 125,000 were active every month. Um, they were the largest Instagram advertiser, spending $1 billion annually. They also sponsored, if you remember, the LA Lakers. So similar to Temu and the big Super Bowl splash. And at the time, the Lakers won the championship in 2021 with the Wish logo splattered on every jersey. It was a $30 million deal. And the company actually also attracted similar income brackets. So just like Temu was resonating with the higher income, actually Wish saw that as well. But then, they started to gain some more traction through this gamification and just getting people to come back time and time again. So I think it's interesting. You bring up the quality piece. There's some pitfalls that Wish had as well, which we'll see as Temu going to follow.
Pitfalls for Wish? Do tell.
Yeah, I got a few. So low product standards. They actually had a lot of illicit products. So they had a car seat that was on sale for 17 pounds in the UK. They got shut down in France by Google because of all of the low quality standards and
Oh
the
my
bad
gosh.
business practices. They actually had a storefront called Best Deal spelled DEEAL, number 9, that they would take all the listings that got shut down off of Wish for fraudulent, put them in that store and see if customers would notice. And this was an experiment that the company actually started themselves. And they had over 213,000 people buy products off the site that they intentionally had no plans of ever shipping. Pretty insane, right?
Fraud.com.
Fraud.com. So the known as a place where you can get $1 watches. They would have refrigerators on sale for $1, but really it was the magnets that were being sold. So question for you with sharing this data. Do you think that Wish
Look, I think they're clearly following the playbook. I do think that they are differentiating in the fact that they seem to be going up market a little bit differently. They seem to have a little bit better quality. That's what I see so far. The rest of it is like there's a lot of advertising. They're surely not profitable. And so the question is that once the advertising dollars off,
right?
the big question is like, is that going to happen? And they have big pockets. US public investors weren't going to fund kind of like a whole bunch of nonsense forever. They're based in China. These companies move around, right? Like one of them is based in Singapore and Hong Kong,
Right.
and not like, oh, we're a London-based company or we're a Boston, like Shein's based in Boston.
Like Shein.
Definitely not China.
No, not at all. No ties whatsoever.
Yeah, and any country that Congress is against, we are not in.
That was also the downfall of Wish, right? At some point, the cost of advertising got too expensive, coupled with all of these bad business practices that just eroded the loyalty that they did have. So you feel like Temu is going to be in better footing to survive?
I think Temu is a better footing. They've already started affecting the dollar stores. 2023 year over year, and compared to dollar stores, growth has completely flatlined, and analysts are attributing that to almost 100% Temu, and then some Shein. That kind of spells bad news for the dollar store industry. They going to need to become the half dollar store.
Yeah, I think that's an easy though out, right? If you actually saw, there was some deep dives in like John Oliver on the dollar store and some of their challenges. They can't keep their teams employed. So part of the dollar store experience is just ensuring that you've got strong store associates, right? That are paid well, will show up to work every day. Customers were helping unpack the boxes because they had just stocked up so much in the warehouses. And the stores are just literally a mess. And so some of it could be for sure Temu, but they've been able to capitalize on probably frustrations that people have of just going into the dollar store in general, because it's just a mess.
It's an interesting point of view. Mess is a good word for some of this inventory, particularly if, hopefully they don't have a fraudulent site. One of the most interesting parts of the report that 96% of Temu's customer also shop on Walmart and Amazon. Do you think that people, if they're shopping on one versus the other, will they start noticing that there are a lot of these same suppliers on both sites?
Hundo P, Rick. It is for sure the same. You've got same sellers. They're all going after the same types of inventory. And part of Temu's strategy is expansion, right? And so why wouldn't they look at Amazon data, look at categories that are growing, look at those top sellers, and then entice them to come on to Temu? If you're anything less than a 50% take rate, you're already ahead of the game. And that was also Wish's playbook. Was initially they didn't start charging commissions or fees, and then overall they charged less fees. So that was how they were able to get some traction and in like the Amazon and eBay marketplace community. So Temu, again, page from playbook, we'll just do it better.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of view. And so, look, I think there's a lot of interesting data that we've unpacked here about Temu. They're clearly still growing. Their ad budgets do not seem to be decreasing. Television is maybe not the place for them. I think Nick had a good comment about the quality. Are they policing sellers? That's going to be a challenge long term. And
Huge
I mean,
challenge.
yeah, look, a lot of people are looking at sort of CAC to LTV ratio. The problem is CAC is infinite right now. And so if you can't, there's no payback that makes sense against an infinite customer acquisition cost, does there?
No, and I mean, if they've got the pockets and they're going to keep shelling out the coin, uh, what's to worry? I think also David brought up a good point. Bought an electric piano from an ad, instead got a friendship bracelet. I mean, again, that's the challenge with. I go back to my Wish flashbacks. That's essentially what happened. People were getting empty boxes. People were getting the wrong items, or they were thinking they were paying, $1 for an iPad, and they would get like an iPad booklet. So, those are the same things, right?
Yeah,
I'd love to read
iPad
about
booklet.
an iPad. I'd love to
That
read about
makes
an iPad.
that makes a lot of sense.
But
I
to your
mean,
point, Rick, look, like any marketplace cannot survive unless there is the holistic elements of the flywheel, right? You have sellers, you have quality products, you have buyer-friendly policies, and Temu can do a lot to acquire people to come in the doors, but keeping them shopping and keeping them satisfied is really going to rely on how well they manage that seller community.
yeah, I mean, look, that's going to be the long term. It's a key to any marketplace. It's almost, when we were at Barnes and Noble, I always described a marketplace as kind of like selection races against trust.
Right.
And selection needs to lead trust slightly, but it can't leave trust like too far behind, or else all that selection is going to find buyers that won't come back.
In terms of that trust, and depending on where they go, like Shein, we've talked about, is partnering with Forever 21. Do you think Temu will need to have a brick and mortar partnership strategy versus completely upsetting that big box? Do they need to partner with big box as a way to continue to get awareness and growth?
Yes, is the short answer. Temu will definitely need a partner, not just for a big box point of view, but also from a legitimacy point of view. Shein has done a really good job sort of like weaving their way into the US ecosystem, the US retail ecosystem, the US investor ecosystem by partnering with Spark, which is a subsidiary of Authentic Brands Group, which is the
Yep.
world's biggest licensing firm. So now Shein and ABG are basically in bed together.
They're besties.
And they're besties. And ABG is the brand owner of some of the top brands in America. Shein ain't going nowhere. Congress can't have any
Can't
problem
hold you
with
down.
them. No, she's staying.
She's Shein for sure.
Right.
She's in the US.
100%. But Temu might be gone. So I think that's the challenge. They're going to have to establish some legitimacy. So like, they're not just seen as a foreign player that, depending on the political environment and Congress and And I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw this week, something had happened. The EU just banned any retailer that uses slave labor in the
Right.
EU marketplace. That could be coming to the US. That seems like a no-brainer thing on both sides of the
Yeah.
aisle. But that
Yes.
doesn't mean much in our political climate.
That's true. And the other kind of parallel paradigm here for two Ps, you have people on TikTok or TikTok users calling their congressman to say, keep my talk, don't let it go, as the regulations are getting tighter and tighter. Will people defend Temu as much? Like, I got to have my Temu. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. People are addicted to the talk.
Yeah.
So Temu, not so much. Look, I think we've done a good segment on Temu, and the demographic is I think different than you think, and the sustainability is still a question. I think quality is still a question, which means that staying power is very much still a question. So that's a wrap on our Temu segment. We have another segment coming up. Jess, you want to lead us off?
Yes, I am so excited to introduce Jordan Jewell, who is the Senior Director, Analyst in Residence at VTEX. He leads VTEX's US content strategy. He authors a lot of research on thought leadership within the e-commerce market. And before joining VTEX, sorry, was an international data corporation, IDC. And so he's just had this well-founded history in terms of research, analytics, assessing digital commerce platforms. So we're thrilled to have Jordan here because he's got some interesting insights for us across a variety of different specters. So welcome, Jordan. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for the big introduction. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great. Rick, I know you and Jordan go back a little bit, being in this ecosystem.
Yeah. Jordan and I went way back, including when Jordan was IDC. And so I think your journey has been super interesting. Talk to me about what was it like to be an analyst? Like, I think a lot of people don't understand, like, what are analysts? What do they do? And that just simple questions. We're simple people here.
Break it down for us. What's a day in your life?
We could have a whole episode about that. We probably shouldn't, but and I think, Rick, I actually remember doing research where I interviewed you on something like building a model for headless commerce. So I think it varies a lot, and something a lot of people don't know is there's actually like dozens and dozens of analyst firms. There's obviously kind of the big three, you could call them: Gartner, Forrester, IDC, which most people are aware of.
Yeah.
And I was at one of those, obviously, but there's dozens of smaller ones that do like very niche research on top. I mean, there's a lot of things involved with being an analyst, but the summary is that, we published, I should say, in past tense, we did marketscapes at IDC. There's waves at Forrester. There's the Magic Quadrant. Most people are aware with.
Everyone has a different shape.
I don't know if that's important, but there's slightly different methodologies. And actually, we might talk about it a bit more, but there are nuances to those, and it's hard to convey them to the audience because they see a graph and that's 100%. The main thing that gets attention. But it's market share and forecast reports. IDC focuses a lot on the data. So I spent, tons of hours in spreadsheets, interviewing people. So for the MarketScape, for instance, I did on digital commerce. I interviewed 200 people.
Wow.
In my apartment in San Francisco during COVID. My wife knew the entire, interview guideline by that point when I was at question 9 and 10. So a lot of, primary research to build those charts and data behind it, but writing a lot of papers, presenting, that's kind of
great. I always knew you were a data guy. Leading up to the show, there was a discussion between industry colleagues, Tucker Walsh, former Oracle analyst at Shopify. You and he were having a discussion about Jordan, the man of many spreadsheets. We pulled some data here. Jordan has a spreadsheet of every restaurant that he and his wife have gone to since they met. The first
Wow.
time. True or false, Jordan?
True. And there's an interactive map. I don't think you have the screenshot of that, but you could filter by location and average rating and cuisine type. People actually use it to like find places for business dinners or whatever if they're in San Francisco, because that's where we live. But yes.
That's amazing. So you're basically your own version of Yelp. You've created your own.
Yelp.
Yeah. And it's funny, I was actually at a bar with like some people I didn't know, and I ended up talking about the spreadsheet, and there was this guy who was super interested in it. He was like asking all these questions, and I love talking about it, obviously. But then at some point his wife goes, "Yeah, he's really interested because he works at Yelp." And the whole time he had been going like, "Man, we need to have that. Like we should have that in Yelp." So I think Yelp could probably benefit from some of this.
Yeah, but I mean, let's dive in here. Look, you sent me the spreadsheet. The first thing literally I did was sort by descending number of visits in your type of cuisine category. Mexican, it's
There's a lot of Mexican
fan favorite.
restaurants. Yeah. Well, if you do by average rating, I think like Burmese or Caribbean come out top. So it depends what criteria.
I've never been to a Burmese restaurant. What did they
I
serve?
haven't either.
Oh, there's a bunch of really good ones in the Bay Area. It's kind of like Thai mixed with Indian mixed with Chinese, because
Sounds so good.
it's good.
So if you're saying you're on a desert island, you can only take one item. Is it chips and guacamole, or what you taking from all the places you've eaten?
Or like something that's Peruvian. I don't know. Something like that.
Nice. That's pretty amazing.
Mindy is chiming in. This is a legendary spreadsheet. I think we're releasing proprietary information here. I don't know. Like, I think YouTube might shut us down. It's totally possible.
Do you do this in Excel or you do it in Google Docs?
It's Google Sheets. Like it's public. I thought about posting it on the Data is Beautiful subreddit, but I didn't want, too many people getting access to it. But yeah, it's public. Anyone can use it.
That's amazing. And
So that's like that's more of a work stuff. Because we haven't been to millions of restaurants, thankfully yet. But you can run into a limit with Google Sheets. I found for the work project I'm working on, a financial model where if you go over 10 million rows, it just stops working. So yeah, you can max out. I mean, everyone knows you can max out spreadsheets, but I've run into that.
Yeah.
many times.
No, it's so interesting. So let's move over to the work topics. I mean, we could talk about this all day, honestly, restaurants, but VTEX has been known historically as one of the, if not the biggest e-commerce platform player in Latin America. More recently, in the last few years, I've been looking to break into the United States, and clearly they have broken into the United States now that Jordan has joined up. Why don't you give me a little bit of a headline us for us in terms of like VTEX? What are they doing in the U.S. market? Who are they going after? And what makes you excited about the next couple of years?
Yeah. And part of it is like, I was an analyst. It's a fun gig. I really enjoyed it. I miss it at times, to be honest, but I knew I wanted to try being on the software side. And when I came to the dark side, came here, I wanted to be at a company that, like I'm an analyst in residence. That's my role here. It's not a normal role. It's kind of made up.
Abnormal.
But it's one where I'm allowed to take a lot of kind of autonomy in how we content, be objective, do research. I knew I wanted that. And at VTEX, founded in Brazil over 20 years ago at this point. So I have a long history, but one of the things built into the culture is the focus on e-commerce knowledge and that sort of thing. So everyone is expected to know like the P&L of a retailer, manufacturer, brand. They're expected to know, how conversion rate impacts, how average order value. There's this really big focus on commerce knowledge. It resonates within the product. We do really well with kind of complex platforms just can't support. So we have a built-in marketplace. We built an order management system. One of our first huge clients was Walmart in Brazil at the time.
Right.
And they beat out these huge platforms in Brazil to support Walmart, and you can't support Walmart with like a very simplified out of the,
Right.
commerce in a box type
Yep.
software. So that's part of the reason we're able to support, kind of high levels of complexity. That's kind of carried through to today, where it's completely SaaS now and all that, microservices based complexity, where you're connecting between manufacturers, distributors, retailers. You might have an actual marketplace. We have customers like Whirlpool, Sony, Samsung, Beauty Counter, first that just went live using commerce in their publications. So B2B, B2C, that's a differentiator. There's a lot more commerce happening today that's not, cookie cutter. It's not, I just want a simple direct to consumer site. It's a little more complex.
There are a lot of players in that side of the market, but in terms of complexity, as your business grows, if you have a lot of different types of customers, distributors, manufacturers, sort of multi-level business models, you can't sell alcohol directly. You have to go through these retailers, and then you have, the manufacturers. How to release a report called Do the Math. It's trying to calculate total cost of ownership for platforms. Like, how do you run an e-commerce business from a software point of view, not just considering the platform itself, but also all the ancillary services that you're going to need? Because I think one of the things that people don't realize is like they grade one platform versus another. It's like, oh, this one's cheap, this one's expensive. Like, well, that's not the whole picture. The whole picture includes actually, like, if this one includes this app that you don't need on this other platform, then that actually creates a huge advantage. Or the customizability is different. I don't know. Talk to me a little bit about the report and what you're getting after here.
Yeah. So I've spent a lot of time on it, and it's really difficult for the reasons you mentioned. And as an analyst, I want to, like, the model can get extremely complex. If you're modeling out all the things that can impact an e-commerce business, the list is literally dozens long, like how you market, how you change your product assortment.
Simply, who is the report for?
Yeah, we're focused on, I think our product, we communicate it well to like technology leaders, so CIOs, CTOs, chief digital officers, and that's who it's for. This particular one, because I think, a lot of the terms in the market, whether it be composable commerce, headless commerce, all these buzzwords that are out there, some hit harder than others, but this is the case in all technology. It's not specific to this industry, but there's a lot of lofty claims that, composable commerce will make your site faster, which will lead to this round number ROI with no source. Like if you go to a lot, and it's not just like our competitors, but you go to any given site on e-commerce, you're going to see all these lofty claims. So we thought, like, okay, what if we actually go ahead and try to do some of the math? Like, what if we actually build a P&L statement that is interactive for a technology buyer that like actually simulates what this will look like. So hold everything else equal. You can't account for the marketing expense. You can't account for having a recession or a big boom or whatever. But let's like put it in a bubble and say, on average, if you're a D2C company doing like 150 million, you have a tech team that can run a project, go down the line. What would your simulated growth, your profitability be running one type of architecture over another? And like kind of looking at a simplified, we call it commerce in a box, SaaS implementation, a completely composable one where you're going out and you're bringing in a dozen best of breed applications, or you're kind of a hybrid in between, or you're running a monolithic platform, and simulated that out. So that's what we're trying to do. And I'll be the first one to say, like, I've pulled back because I want to incorporate all these things that impact the bottom line at the end of the day.
Right.
But a lot of it is just bringing some mathematical rigor. I like spreadsheets. I think even a flawed spreadsheet, there's value in quantifying things that are difficult to quantify. And it's just to get the conversation started about like, okay, how much does it actually cost to implement a fully composable architecture? You're going to have to bring in a lot of resources. onshore and offshore with the average cost of XYZ, you're going to reduce maintenance here, but you're going to add it over there.
That's right.
Your implementation timeline might grow from 9 months to 16 months, which is, depending on the architecture. So just incorporating those things, exposing those assumptions in the model, and then just kind of starting the conversation is the goal.
So Jordan, you talked about this being for tech CIOs or chief digital officers. A lot of times, we talked about this before, the decision spans so many different parts of the function and the organization. And so is the spirit of this that you're putting some things in the hands of a technology leader to bring back into the organization to help with decision making and get to some of the framework faster of which direction they should go? What part of the cycle are you trying to engage or get people when they're going through these evaluations?
Yeah, 100%. And especially with enterprises, it's a huge committee that
Yes.
like it often involves the CEO and like CFO and all the Cs. We're focused on the technology leaders in this case. That's where the narrative of composable commerce has really been pointed towards. And it's awesome. Like what you can do with modular PBCs, like microservices, all the buzzwords technology is great. And I think a lot of technology leaders salivate when they see like, oh, I can use this best of breed search and this best of breed CMS and this best of breed personalization. We're focused on that audience because we want to bring the narrative that, their job isn't just to build the best website that's super fast and can be personalized, but like, what does that mean for the bottom line? Because at the end of the day, they'll look the best if they have maybe a little smaller team, but they're doing better, like financially.
It starts with the CTO or CIO, and this is a tool for them to help the business leaders understand the total cost of ownership and how do those different modules help improve the business. And so having those conversations better, they're going to be able to, make decisions more quickly, more accurately. TCO won't be so much a back of the napkin exercise anymore. Even if the spreadsheet is wrong, you can see what the model is, and then you can improve it.
Yep.
Much less like which Thai food restaurant I should go to next.
Yeah, a little bit. And so how are you thinking about the distribution for this and getting the word out? I mean, clearly this is breaking news here on the Watson Weekend, but outside of this, outside of this exclusive and where we're breaking the story, how can people get access to it? When will it be available? And how do you plan from a distribution perspective?
Anyone who's watching, feel free to just DM me and I can like get you on the like early access list or whatever. But like Shop Talk, so we're getting pretty close, but 10 days away from now, Shop Talk, that will be kind of like the soft launch. It was originally a spreadsheet, but there are a lot of issues with spreadsheets. So it's going to be in Tableau. So Tableau, you can have it publicly available and all those things. You have to tier up. Tableau actually struggles doing some of the computations I've realized that spreadsheets are actually better with. But so it'll be available starting on the 18th, and then there'll kind of be a campaign starting from there. But it'll be something that the audience can actually interact with. So you can change, like say, okay, what if I have a B2B to C model versus B2B and see how that impacts things. That's kind of the time frame and goal.
Great. And then
it's kind of related to TCO, but there's a couple things. So one, like how long is this actually going to take to go live? Everyone wants the best search. Everyone wants the best personalization. It's going to be more expensive. And sometimes it's a lot more expensive. Every technology does this, but they'll make an argument for why it's going to impact your outcome. And that might be true. But every time you add one of these components, it's adding complexity. Like they're often not built on the same cloud provider, the same code base, the same programming language. The data model's different. That's fine. It's probably still going to produce a better outcome on your page. But once you start stacking these things up, you're adding financial costs from a just SaaS standpoint, but you're also adding cost from a it's not quite maintenance the same way that monolithic platforms were. You do need staff to maintain those integrations. The integrations
Right.
break.
Sure.
And I ran into, there's costs associated with that. So it takes longer to build that up front.
One of the biggest underappreciated costs in SaaS is integrations, and they're
100%.
usually the first thing to break down. And I think the fact that you're including this in the model is super interesting. We got an exclusive here in the Watson weekend for Jordan's report. Do the math. Look for it upcoming. March 18th is the soft launch. Look for it at Shop Talk. And we'd love to have you back here in the future.
We got to close out with the dance party. So work on your dance moves. We'll be bringing you back. Some things that we're happy and excited about. We're going to head on into the happiness index to round out the show today. And we've got two things that we're going to talk about. One is we've got some new data from a payments perspective, a survey of 1,700 consumers just on what's happening in the trade down or cutback due to inflation around groceries. So there's some new insights. Over 58% of consumers at all income levels are actually cutting back. We've got some slides here to show you and break it down. It's impacting all income levels. So you can see for sure at less than 50K, we're at 61%. That's where there's the largest or a larger section. But in that 50 to 100K, where you've got 64%, that was some surprising news, coupled with almost 50%, basically at more than 100K, saying that they're cutting down. But then look at either changing to cheaper merchants or reducing quality. People are definitely making these trade-offs, and not very many people are saying that they're not impacted at all, with the exception of that more than 100K. We got two more breakdowns here. So if we go to the next slide, regardless of inflation impacting your wages, we're still, again, seeing that cut down on non-essential spending happening. And if we go to the last slide here on this data and breaking it down, this also broke down kind of what the impact was in terms of people living paycheck to paycheck. The insight here is that more consumers, even in those higher income brackets, are saying that they're living paycheck to paycheck. And that was some difference than what we had seen in earlier data, and even the McKinsey data that we had covered last week. So something to watch. We're definitely feeling the pressure of groceries and how that's cutting back on spending. I've got one more thing that is breaking news. The jobs report came out today. We heard the update on jobs, and it actually beat expectations. So we had an assumed 178,000 new jobs were going to be created, and it was actually 275,000. So Rick, what do you think about that? What do you think about the jobs market?
Look, jobs market is mixed from the people I talk to, particularly high-level executive roles. I talk to a lot of people that are looking. If you're like director and below, it seems like a good jobs market. And if you're a director and above, it's a little bit sluggish. And so that's kind of my point of view. I mean, on the economy, looking back at the retailers that produce earnings, they're more bullish this year than last year. Even Target is predicting growth this year, as they slid last year. So, I agree that consumers are still cutting back. The question is, on a relative basis, is it worse than before, or is it slightly less than before? So I didn't know if the data had any sentiment on that.
Yeah, it actually did. So in this payments data, it's worse than before. So when they compared to surveys that they had done in 2023, there were more consumers talking about either cutting back altogether or trading down, and specifically in these higher income brackets. And that was the biggest delta in change that I think is the watch out, because this has been the group that's probably kept the economy more afloat. So that one I think will be interesting to watch and see. And related to the jobs report, you're right. I think depending on what sector you're in, that it may be a little bit tougher. The interesting thing in the jobs report was also we expected to see unemployment at 3.7%. It was at 3.9%. And there was a walk back from the January report. Remember that number? It was 353,000 people
Right.
were losing
That was
their
a big
minds.
number. It's like, wow.
Big number. Guess what? It was revised down to 229. I don't know if these people get away with some little mathematical errors here and there, but that's a pretty big swing.
Yeah, that's almost half there.
Yeah, a little bit,
crazy.
a little bit halvesies. And healthcare and government continue to be the sectors driving the growth. So no slowing down in healthcare, 67,000 new jobs added. Government, 52,000. So government employees, they're kicking it, continuing to ramp up, I guess, in all these committees. Retail actually had 19,000, but restaurants and bars added 42,000. So that's that community that people like to watch as well, because if you see slowness there, it's a sign of just overall cutback in spending.
No, that's amazing. I mean, that would seem to be good news for Temu, and it seems like that would be a place that consumers would be trading down to. So as long as they keep pumping out those ads, they know how to type in Temu on their report. So
they're ready to go. So we're going to keep watching this as it relates to inflation. One of the analysts said, look, I can run different scenarios on every kind of spectrum and ultimately get down to some type of scenarios, hard landing, soft landing, no landing. So we still don't have the crystal ball here, Rick.
No, 100%. And you heard it here first. Consumers are still cutting back, and it's getting worse, which seems to fly in the face of the retail earnings report. So that's going to be something we're going to watch here closely over the year. And if so, Miss Jessica here is going to do, and I told you so,
pretty much
for some of these retail CEOs.
That's right. And in the meantime, all we're going to do is dance about it, right?
Dancing solves a lot of problems.
It
And
sure
let's get Jordan back. Let's cue up the music, and then we out of here.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Show us what you got, Jordan.
There we go.
There we go. Here we go.